Chimpanzee versus cheetah. Who would win? The entire continent of Africa is littered with wild animals that can do massive amounts of damage. Whether that damage be to prey, to enemies, or even to unfortunate humans, there are animals here that strike fear in the hearts of many. But forget for a moment about the animals that are most often highlighted in Africa, like lions, hyenas, rhinos, gorillas. Let's look at some other dangerous animals. The cheetah, of course, a fierce predator, but also the chimpanzee doesn't have a reputation for being a menace in the wild, but do not underestimate the chimp. So, what if a chimpanzee and a cheetah faced off? Who would emerge victorious? Got an idea? Don't answer too quickly. You'll want all the information first. What do they look like? Let's make sure that you know who's who in this battle first. These animals occasionally get confused for others. Chimpanzees are apes. Apes and monkeys live in the family of primates, just like us humans. If you exclude humans, chimpanzees are the third largest primate living in the world, after gorillas and orangutans. So right away, you know these chimps got some size to them. A male adult chimpanzee will be about 4'11" and can weigh up to 150 pounds. Don't forget, chimps are our closest living relatives, so they're a lot like us. However, a human who stood that tall would likely weigh between 100 and 120 pounds if they were averagely built, so you need to realize this chimp is hefty and muscular. A full-grown chimp is believed to be around 1.5 times stronger than a full-grown human who is nearly a foot taller. They've got long arms that extend past their knees when standing and shorter legs, but both are powerful. Most of their bodies are covered in black hair besides their hands, feet, and faces. Both their hands and feet are excellent at picking up objects, especially since they have prehensile feet, meaning their big toes are essentially opposable thumbs. Moving from the primate family, we head over to the family of felines where we'll find our cheetah. The chimpanzee is the third largest non-human primate, but the cheetah doesn't rank quite as high among all felines. He's the sixth largest living cat in the world. However, he is one of only 7 big cats, an esteemed title. They can be 5 foot long and weigh 145 pounds. Sometimes cheetahs get confused with leopards and jaguars due to their similar looks, but the cheetah is easy to pick out. Just watch them run. The most famous thing about the cheetah, he's the fastest land animal in the world. His usual speed is around 40 miles per hour, but he ramps up to top speeds when chasing down his prey, hitting 65, sometimes even 75 miles per hour. If you're able to focus in a flash, you might notice the cheetah and his tawny or pale yellow coat, his white underbelly, his black spots, and the black streaks that curve down from the inner corner of each eye. Or you might just see a yellow and black blur speeding across the landscape. So, where exactly do you find this yellow blur? And how about the chimp? Where's he hiding? Where do they live? We mentioned that both the chimpanzee and cheetah live in Africa, but we have to get more specific than that. Africa's a big place. Well, it's so big that there's enough room for plenty of animals, and they don't all have to overlap. Much like the chimpanzee and the cheetah, it would be pretty rare to see them in the same place. Chimpanzees mainly live in tropical rainforests, although you can find them in woodlands and grasslands in western and central Africa. Meanwhile, cheetahs are found in open grasslands and savannas. Now, the countries where chimpanzees may be found in grasslands, those are just not the regions where cheetahs tend to be. Chimps can be found in several different pockets of Africa. One pocket is in Western Africa, including countries like Senegal, Guinea, Mali, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, and Ghana. There are a couple more pockets in Western Central Africa, countries like Nigeria, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Republic of the Congo, Gabon, and Equatorial Guinea. And then lastly, in Central Africa, you have more chimps in the rainforests of Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, Burundi, and Tanzania. All in all, we know of 17 of the 54 countries in Africa that have wild populations of chimpanzees. Now, looking at cheetahs, there are some populations in Iran, but when it comes to Africa, they have different populations spread out around the continent. In northwestern Africa, there are cheetahs in Mali, one of the countries you can find chimps in, but the opposite corner of a large country. And also Algeria, Niger, Benin, and Burkina Faso. In Central Africa, cheetahs exist in one more country than chimps do, Central African Republic. But again, a different region. They're also found in the countries of Chad, Sudan, South Sudan and Ethiopia. And then there are cheetahs spanning several more countries in Southern Africa and East Central Africa. Countries like South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Angola, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Kenya, and also Tanzania. Yes, Tanzania was another chimp country, and though the two tend to inhabit different habitats and regions altogether, the proximity of their populations is not all that far when you look at the continent of Africa as a whole. A chimp and a cheetah would have to walk pretty far from their home base in Tanzania to run into one another, but not too far. But when we talk about what these two animals eat, they couldn't get any further apart. What do they eat? The chimp diet and the cheetah diet are at opposite ends of the spectrum. They may have no overlap at all. Chimpanzees are omnivorous frugivores, meaning they prefer fruit above all other foods. But when you combine fruit with leaves, seeds, blossoms, stems, pith, and bark, that's the overwhelming majority of their diet. We know what you're thinking. Chimps are vegan? Almost, but not quite. They will eat small amounts of honey, insects, birds, their eggs, and occasionally other small mammals. The small mammals may include juvenile yellow baboons, juvenile warthogs, and red-tailed monkeys. Now, when you look at a cheetah, you see a vastly different spread for the dinner menu. The cheetah is a carnivore, so it's all meat, all the time. They go for small to medium-sized prey that could range anywhere between 40 to 130 pounds, but their preference are medium-sized ungulates that are under 90 pounds. This could include gazelles, impala, springbok, and duikers. Typically, they avoid the larger ungulates, but cheetahs have been known to frequently eat nyala, which can be up to 260 pounds, so it's not as if they're unable to take down larger prey. So, how do they do it? How do they behave in the wild? Cheetahs are quite unique when it comes to their behavior in the wild, and that is thanks in large part to the way that they hunt. You know about the speed, but it's also the acceleration. You know when manufacturers of cars brag about how fast their vehicle goes from 0 to 60. Like the Corvette can 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. The BMW M2 can go from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. Well, the cheetah goes from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat, similar to the Porsche 911 Turbo, only the cheetah didn't need a team of automotive assembly technicians to put him together. He was born that way. The cheetah hides and looks for his prey, sometimes on a termite mound or in a tree. He'll then slowly stalk the prey, and then once he's close enough, the chase is on. It doesn't matter how far away the prey is, because the cheetah covers up ground like no other. However, he can only hold his top speeds for so long, so he has to close in on his prey, and once he's close enough, he swipes at them and trips them. Then he pounces on them and latches onto their throat with his jaws and suffocates them. Cheetahs often hunt alone, but sometimes, especially the males, will hunt and live together in a coalition, much like lions. It isn't so uncommon to see cheetahs in small groups. With chimpanzees, it would be a rare sighting to see one living alone. They're always in groups. Sometimes it's 15 members, sometimes 30, sometimes far more. Now, all the rest of the great apes are far more herbivorous than chimpanzees. They eat more meat than the rest. They're also the only great apes known to engage in organized communal hunts of animals. They may hunt the animals on the ground or even while moving through the treetops. They'll flail and strike the animals. They'll bite and even grab their prey and smack it against harder surfaces. They can be ruthless. Chimps are a little less ruthless when seeking out their fruits and leaves and stems. They move in their groups, foraging for their food, oftentimes even using tools to acquire the food they desire. So, chimps take down animals. Cheetahs take down animals. What happens if we put those two together? What if they fought? They don't inhabit many of the same areas, chimps and cheetahs, but they did overlap in a few countries. Mali, Central African Republic, but they were spaced quite far apart. And Tanzania. They weren't quite that far apart from one another in Tanzania. It's possible that our chimpanzee and our cheetah could meet at some halfway point. They'd lock eyes on one another, those chimp eyes that look eerily human, those cheetah eyes with the inky stripes streaking down like black blood, and the battle would begin. Chimpanzees aren't constant hunters like cheetahs are. The chimp will realize the cheetah is a threat and will react accordingly. He may have encountered leopards before, or heard stories, and he knows leopards attack and eat chimps. A leopard is bigger, but this cheetah is so much faster. This cheetah is always prepared to kill, Every meal comes from hunting and killing. Chimps do engage in their organized hunts, but usually there's several of them. This chimp is alone. The cheetah, he has no problem hunting alone. However, this doesn't mean the chimp can't handle himself. He can be downright ruthless when he attacks animals. If the two meet in an area where there are plenty of trees, the chimp gains a distinct advantage. Yes, that cheetah is quick, and he's agile, but navigating around trees is difficult when you're trying to keep up top speeds. The chimp can leap and climb better than most in the animal kingdom. He can navigate the canopy above them, swing from branch to branch, and land on top of the cheetah. The two weigh about the same, so the chimp could take that cheetah down with his sheer weight. Those powerful arms, those muscles that are stronger than a human's, well, they'd go to work, flailing, bashing, slamming the cheetah into objects, slamming tools or weapons into the cheetah. But all this is dependent on if he catches the cheetah and if there are plenty of trees nearby. If we're in an area with less cover from trees, less obstacles to navigate, that cheetah has an advantage like you wouldn't believe. He could chase down that chimp in an instant, and even if the chimp wants to defend himself, he's never seen anything this fast and couldn't react quickly enough. That cheetah would knock him down and latch onto the throat, slowly suffocating him. A cheetah's bite force is nothing to scoff at 475 psi. However, it's far from the strongest in the animal kingdom. He's relying on the slow suffocation from his jaws. It's worked on plenty of gazelles, but don't count out the chimp's strength. He may be able to pry those jaws off himself or retaliate with devastating strikes. Still, once the cheetah latches on, it's hard to imagine him not finishing the job. Similarly, if the two were surrounded by trees and the chimp could use the trees to his advantage and strike, it's difficult to imagine him not finishing the job. Then again, chimps have that very situation happen with leopards, and the leopards still kill and eat them often enough. A lot of this depends on the environment. If the two are out in an open area with less trees, huge advantage goes to the cheetah. He probably wins that battle 9 times out of 10 because he can strike so quickly. If there are trees anywhere in the area, the chimp gains an advantage. He has time to exact his sinister attacks, and the cheetah's advantage of speed is done away with. Still, it's no done deal, because if the chimp isn't careful, that cheetah's still got a mouth on him. In this scenario, the chimp probably wins 7 out of 10 times. He too needs to take care of the cheetah quickly and not give him any time to retaliate. You might not have thought to pick the chimp, but it's not a bad choice. This is a battle that could go either way.